right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Playbook. You might notice we are in a different environment today. That's because today is a day of firsts. First podcast in the new studio, first in-person podcast, and first repeat guests. So I was thinking who should be the first for this new studio. And I don't know if it's just because Mike is always here or just because I like you that much, Mike, but you were the first one that came to mind. So thanks for sitting down with me, buddy.
Or by default.
Yes, or by default. But thanks for sitting down with me today, Mike. So because this is a repeat podcast, we're going to do some things a little bit differently. I got some different questions to ask you than I normally would, being that we talked about quite a few things in September. But since then, I'm sure a lot has changed. It's a new year. So let's start by talking about what kind of year you had last year, man, because I know it's pretty busy for you. What kinds of things are you proud of? I know you closed around 60 transactions. Is that right?
60 plus last year in 2021.
And what kinds of things were you doing that you think contributed to that sort of success?
I think the follow-up from the 2021 year, had a great year, and then it carried over into 2021. And the biggest thing for me was flipping those past clients and picking up referrals from them. I think staying in contact with the past clients really helped, and that's something I wasn't doing years before, especially before I came to 54 Realty. And you come here and you listen to people like Jordan and Chris and Ann and a bunch of these veteran agents that are top producers year in, year out. And that was one thing that I was lacking. So I changed a little bit and strategized that I wanted to really stay in touch with my past clients. And that seemed to help.
Okay, absolutely. That actually sort of reminds me of something that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about later. But we can jump into it because it kind of relates to what you were just talking about, which is... So I'll start by saying this. You recently, as recently as the other day, actually, you hosted a training at the brokerage for your team, but some other people joined us. One of the people was your sister, who you dubbed the queen of self-generated leads.
That's right, the guru.
Yeah, so that kind of ties into, I think, what you were talking about. So I'm wondering, did she have any influence on how you kind of treated your business in that regard? Or were these things that you sort of learned from other people at the brokerage, like you were saying?
Well, I think it's a combination of everything. Seeing what my sister's done over the years is phenomenal. I think that at 54 Realty, we're known that we purchase a lot of leads through Zillow and other avenues for our agent, which is phenomenal. I've never been part of a brokerage that does that, and Joe really stays ahead of the curve. And then what I did is took advantage of those opportunities that were given to me from the brokerage, and then added a little bit of what my sister's done. And what she's really, really good at is she focuses on the connection, how to connect with the clients, how to connect with the sphere of past clients and really stay in touch. So when you're getting an influx of leads that our office gives you, and then you convert those leads, and then you add what she's done and what some of the other agents like Jordan and Chris and Ann, some of these top veteran agents that just every year they're there. And there's no secret to it. I think staying in front of your past clients and staying in touch and making sure you have that connection with them.
For sure. And once you get over that hump of the first couple of years, I know you've been doing it for a long time, obviously, but once newer agents kind of get over the hump of building out their sphere and that sort of thing, doesn't it get a lot easier?
100%. I mean, we laugh. I'm in the office all the time, but I hardly take leads.
Yeah.
I know before coming here, I was doing it all wrong. You close the deal and you forgot about the people. You forgot about your clients. And what I've tried to do is change that, and that's been the game changer for me, because those people that you care about are going to care about you, okay? And they know that you care about them and that you've taken care of them and got them from contract to close, and you made it go efficiently and no headaches, and you provided that knowledge to them to help get into the biggest purchase of their life. Yeah. So they trust you. And if they trust you, then they're going to refer other people to you. And that's way better than trying to convert a lead that you've never met or never talked to.
So, Mike, what you were just saying makes me think of kind of a silly comparison, but I think about this because I've been in a relationship for a long time. So thinking about comparing sphere, working your sphere versus just working leads fresh off the boat reminds me of dating versus being in a long-term relationship. Because once you get to the certain point where you're just working your book, it's like being in a long-term relationship and you're like, I don't know if I could go back to doing that other thing. I don't know if you get rusty, that sort of thing. So you just made me think of that. Silly comparison. I also just noticed there's a fly in my coffee, and we just had some technical difficulties. So yeah. But anyway, Mike, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about training because I think that's a good segue from what we were just talking about. Something that I've noticed from you, and we may have talked about this last time, you have a big focus on training and developing new agents that come aboard, whether they be brand new or just new to the brokerage. So I'm thinking, and forgive me if I'm putting words in your mouth, but I think that's a big focus of yours right now is the training. And so could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think I have around 18 to 20 people on the team that's underneath me that I help. So in December and January, I kind of changed focus, and I make it weekly appointments where I can meet with my agents. Whether they're there or not, I try to send an email, hey, this is what you should be doing. This is week 1 of week 52. What are you doing to be an agent? Because I did all the things wrong in the past before I came here. I thought that I was an agent, but I was doing nothing to be a real estate agent. And so what I've tried to do is help the newer agents and show them what I did. I mean, basically, I turned my real estate career around in 6 months in 2020. I mean, I didn't have a closing till May. And then from May till December, I think I closed 24, 25 deals, and then last year 60 plus. And there was just a few changes. And one thing that I talked to the team about is treat it like a job and get paid like a job. And if you're not working, then you're not going to get paid. And it's easy to fall in that category as a real estate agent because everybody thinks, oh, well, they wake up at 10 o'clock and then they're hiding behind every bush to open up a door to let people in a home. So you kind of get a bad rap. But there's a lot that goes into it, especially when you have a database of potential clients. You got to follow up. You got to be in touch. You got to leave a lot of notes. I mean, you always see me with my notepad I walk around with. And because, yeah, I mean, the computer's great, but I guess I'm getting old. So anyways, I'm used to the notepad. I jot down stuff that I talk about to people. We can always go back and look in our laptop, but if you're not looking in your laptop, you tend to forget. And what I do is I write down a list of people I'm in contact with as buyers and a list of contact as sellers, and then I go and just mark it off. It's pretty basic, common sense stuff, but if that's in front of me every day, it reminds me to work on those people. I was showing one of the agents the other day, I got 30 people on the buy side and the sell side that I'm working with right now. Well, there's my year, and we're not even done with January.
Right.
So if I can focus on closing those 30, then guess what? There's a whole year of real estate. I think a lot of the newer agents, and I have agents, and they're like, Mike, you're killing it, but what about the splits and this? You guys pay Zillow and all this, Yeah, you're right. There's a big split there, but you take that split and you fill the gap between your own people. And if you don't have your own people, you're giving people. So those people that you work and you close, they know other people.
Yeah.
So before too long, that split goes away. Okay, now you're closing your own deals.
You won't even notice it.
You don't even notice it. Yeah. But if you're sitting there, well, I don't want to pay that. I don't want to pay that. And that's the biggest hang up with new agents. Other brokerages, they don't want to pay the split. Well, you're not paying a split where you're at because you're not closing deals. Yeah. I mean, if you come here, you bare minimum, you should do $5 million in a year. I mean, you should be able to do $5 million in volume, period, in a year if you try just a little bit. Yeah. And so what I've done is I've shifted gears. In December and January, I'm really focusing on the team. We're implementing a few things that we're going to have weekly meetings, and it's mandatory to be at one of the weekly meetings, and you got to make 25 phone calls. Okay, I mean, you're in real estate. You should be able to talk to people.
We talking daily, 25?
No, just 25. I need 25 cold calls a month.
Okay.
If those 25 people, if they know 100 people, and they're willing to send their friends to you, now you're at 2,500 people just by making 25 phone calls a month. And that's how you got to think of it. It's a numbers game, and I'm big on numbers. Maybe it was from playing baseball. I don't know. But I failed a lot, and that's what I try to tell them. I probably failed 3,500 times in 10-year career and struck out 600 times. So don't be afraid to make that phone call.
Absolutely.
And you never know what it's going to lead to. Just a conversation, a hi, hello, how's your family, what's going on. Everybody likes a phone call from a friend just checking on you. And just little stuff like that can change your path. I mean, I basically turned my career around in 6 months. That's all it took, 6 months being here. But a lot of people have that fear of making change, and then they have fear of, maybe failing. And I don't think I'm afraid to fail. I've failed quite a bit in my life.
So that kind of reminds me, Mike, of Joe's training from the other day, where there was a quote on there that said, do what other people are not willing to do for 5 years, and you can do whatever you want for the rest of your career, basically. So new agents who are intimidated or overwhelmed or just annoyed by the splits and the cold calling and that sort of thing, if you get through that, you can get to a point like where you were at, maybe in 6 months like you did, maybe a little bit longer, maybe shorter, where you can just work your book and
that's it.
Smooth sailing.
And you don't have to make those 25 cold calls.
Yeah.
That's the key. But you got to start somewhere. And that's just one example of things that we're trying to implement and to stay in front of clients and to reach out and grow your sphere. And that's one thing I'm really working hard with these new agents and trying to get them there. Our whole goal, we had a meeting the other day, is $5 million in volume. That's the benchmark,
right?
The bare minimum, and that's what you should be able to obtain.
Well, hopefully they all can. It makes me want to ask you this question. I know you have some people on your team who are quite successful or have been quite successful. Somebody that comes to mind is Amanda, who's been doing quite well for herself. And I'm wondering, maybe it's not one thing, but maybe there's something that sets people apart on your team that are doing so well. Like, is there something that you think has been a secret to their success, or it's just a matter of putting in the work?
No, I think a lot of it's putting in the work, but also think that our team, I feel like we talk quite a bit to each other. We have the quarterly meetings. Now we're instituting the weekly meetings to help grow the business. And then when you see other people succeeding, you want to fall in that line with them.
Yeah.
So I think we all feed off of each other. Brian Kanacki, Eric Baker, 2 new agents that started last year. Both of them, Brian, in a short amount of time, he almost cleared $5 million in like 4 or 5 months. He was a homicide detective and switched careers and came in real estate. Eric was a bartender for 20 years. The first day I got him, he didn't know how to use a laptop. Sorry, Eric. But anyways, and he did $5 million in volume. And he loved it. It was life changing for him, and I expect bigger things from both of those guys, along with Amanda this year. Amanda was in real estate for almost a year and never closed a deal.
Yeah.
And I think she pushed the $5 million benchmark. And, everybody's a little different. We talk about it. I'm 7 days a week.
Yeah.
You see me all the time. But I'm at a point in my life where I can go all in. Kids are a little older and I got a little bit more free time. And I get that with newer agents who have families and have a lot of things going on in their lives. With kids, they may not have that time, but for me, I'm trying to take advantage of the opportunity. I've been through this before, back in 06 and 07 when the market was really booming, 05, 06, 07. So, I'm going all in with it, and I try to keep my team excited to be all in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that helps a lot of them. But Dennis is another one. He left a career to go full time in real estate, and it's been rewarding for him.
And he's got his own sort of niche carved out right now with the commercial.
He's doing commercial.
Stuff too.
Yeah.
I talked to him a little bit
he's
about that.
He's got a couple big deals going.
It's exciting. Yeah.
He should. I look for Dennis to push that, $15 million in volume easy.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
And speaking of Eric, man, he's like silent but deadly. That one,
he is.
Isn't he?
Eric just kind of cruises along, and he's done well. For somebody that knew nothing about real estate, technology, or anything, but you know what Eric did, and you've seen it. His first 3 months, he was in here every day.
Yeah.
He was eager, he was wanting to learn, and he did, and now he's reaping the benefits. Yeah. Where some agents, they put their toe in the water, but they don't want to jump in. I want to do this a little bit. But I think the biggest difference is if you're going to go in as a real estate agent, you need to be all in.
Yeah. Successful. Back to your point from earlier about just treating it like a job, and you'll get
paid like a job, 100%.
Absolutely.
And I learned that by default or by failure because I wasn't doing that. So I'm not sitting here saying that. And that's what, that I tell everybody, listen, a lot of time we see these top agents and you think they do everything perfect. They do everything right. Well, a lot of those top agents, including myself, I feel like I'm getting there to be in that upper category. I finally went all in, and I learned from my failures, but I didn't learn from my failures till I came here.
Yeah.
And I saw the successes and what other people were doing, and then I added that to what I do.
Absolutely. So it seems like a lot of your success, Mike, is influenced just by, like you said, your failures and learning from those. We're talking a little bit about the importance of training and that sort of thing with your team. I'm wondering because obviously, like we were just saying, failure is contributing to the way you learned. Seeing as you have such a passion and a focus on training your team members, I'm wondering, did you have anything like that, or did you kind of just learn solo dolo?
Way back when I started at the end of 2003, beginning of 2004, I had a great mentor on how to write contracts and understand contracts, and that was Deborah Crawford, and she was over at Remax Performance and Charlie Crawford back in the day, and that was great. But nothing against them, but technology started passing them by, and I think that's what Joe coming here and Joe is so on top of things, technology for his agents and for us. I mean, you just have to come in and follow the trail that he's left for us and go down the path with all the technology that he's given us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's good to hear, man. You and I have talked about that ad nauseum, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let's kind of segue a little bit, Mike, because I want to talk to you about sort of your plans for the new year. We talked about, with your focus on your team and that sort of thing. Are there any strategies that you are taking just for yourself, aside from focusing on development and that sort of thing, to succeed? Any type of strategies, anything you're doing differently this year?
Well, yeah, I mean, it goes back to the things that I'm implementing with the team. I'm implementing that for me as well.
Yeah.
It's not, hey, do this, but I'm doing this. Yeah. This is what I'm doing. This is the emails that I sent out, and this is my approach. So I changed gears a little bit this year, and last year, the past year and a half, I guess, it was just hustle, bustle, hustle, bustle.
Yeah.
So towards the end of last year, I started changing things. Okay, I got to stay in contact with all my past clients, because that's what all these top agents in our office, that's what they preach.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing that. So I'm doing that. So I'm also passing that on to the team. Okay. Now what are we doing? Do you have a neighborhood that you're farming? I never had that before. I never did that. So this year, okay, I'm going to start farming neighborhoods. Then I'm going to start building a relationship at the local schools, stuff like that. So that's what I'm doing, and that's what I'm sharing with my team. So whatever I share with the team, it's not do as I say.
Not as I do, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm doing the same things I'm telling you to do. And I think they can see that, and they can see the success it's helping me with, and we just feed off each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And that I think that's why many people, no matter what your profession, should aim for leadership at some point or another. Again, going back to Joe's training the other day, like that's the last step on the steps to success, because once you find yourself in a leadership position, it just reinforces those good habits that you've been developing for yourself when you're teaching other people.
Yeah, and it's nothing. It's not rocket science. We talk about all the time.
Pretty
I make
much.
fun of myself all the time. So. But it's just a matter of taking that one step and then taking the next step and the next step and keep moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of moving forward, something that we talk about pretty much every time is the good old market, everybody's favorite, right? So I'm wondering, Mike, has much changed since you and I last spoke in September, really, as far as the market? Just from what I'm telling, it doesn't seem to have changed much, but you see more. Obviously.
It doesn't. I mean, it's, look, it's great to be a real estate agent right now if you're really hustling, but you really have to hustle, because there's still, it's tough on the FHA buyers. It's really, really tough FHA. Strong offers are conventional and cash. We all know that. The prices are still trending up, and of course everybody saw that, and we blasted it everywhere. Tampa Bay area is supposed to go up 24.9%, so basically 25% this year. So you get a lot of sellers looking at that, and the hard part is now is everybody wants to sell top dollar, nobody wants to fix anything, and then insurance is changing the game on the age of the roofs, and so there's a lot of things that are difficult now. It's not just easy. You get a buyer and then, hey, let's go get you under contract, because there's not a lot of inventory.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really tough. And, if you're a buyer looking to buy in this market, you better come in with your A game. I mean, there's no way around it. You get people that want to, it's been on the market for 2 weeks, so I'm going to lowball them $20,000. Somebody's going to pay that, because there's just, by default, there's not enough out there.
And you just wasted your time, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. So the biggest thing is as a buyer's agent, you have to have your A game. Now, listings, listen, I mean, market it right, get it ready to show, and if it looks like $1 million, it's going to sell for more than $1 million. You know what I mean? So I guess as a seller, just get it ready and be ready to move somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It seems like that's been the truth for the past year or so, if not longer than that. Yeah. Something that's changing, I think, for us specifically this year, and you touched on this just now, is Tampa is just super hot. We're on fire right now. And I think maybe it was Zillow that released these statistics, but we're projected to be basically the hottest housing market in the country. I think I saw that.
That's right. Yeah.
And with Jacksonville at number 2. And obviously there's a lot of things that might have contributed to that, but I'm wondering, what's your take on that? Why do you think we have such this peak in interest right now?
Well, I mean, there's so many factors. I mean, we're not going to get into all of it.
Right.
But, I mean, there's political reasons. There's the tax reasons. There's the
Tom
weather.
Brady.
There's Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Of course, Tom Brady. So there's so many factors that are playing into it. And I think a lot of it is working from home has allowed people to come to a state for political reasons, or come to a state because of the tax breaks, or be able to come to the state because of the weather, and also the prices. I mean, even though prices are going up compared to some of your larger cities in other states, we're still fairly reasonable.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of factors that go into that, and I think that maybe this coronavirus helped Florida.
I think, the real estate market, I don't want to speak outside of my knowledge here, but it's one of the markets that had kind of a healthy impact from the pandemic overall.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the next thing I wanted to ask you, Mike, is, and this is tricky because, you and I aren't economists or anything like that. As far as I know, you're not an economist, right?
I don't know a whole lot.
But do you have any sort of predictions as to how long this market might last, these conditions, or is it just that hard to say?
I hate predictions. I can only tell you what's now, because nobody could predict. Last March, I'll never forget listening on the radio, and I was in New Tampa, and I pulled over on the side of the road, and immediately, or not last year, so in 2020, I lost 4 deals. Yeah. So 4 deals went away that I was expecting to close. And so there was a month and a half of nothing, and the next thing I know, I closed 5, and then it just carried on. I can only tell you what's going on now. I don't like to predict. I don't like to tell people, hey, they're saying 25, to me, that makes me feel like you're pushing me to buy or pushing me to sell. This is what's going on today. There's so much uncertainty in the world. It can go one way or another. All I can tell you is today your house is worth $400,000. Last year it was worth $300,000. Will it be $500 next year?
Who knows?
Could be. I don't know. I'm just telling you, make your decision based on today's market.
For sure. I think that's a healthy approach, Mike, because like you said, I keep up with a lot of the Asian stuff on social media. And I was talking to Austin about this when we did the podcast together. And he posted this thing, which was, here's how much equity you've lost by not selling your house in the last year, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. But he wasn't posting that from a perspective of like, boy, you really should have bought. It was more like, this is why you need to stay informed, because if you're not paying attention to these trends, you could be losing out on money.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So I would recommend people stay informed. I'm not in the market myself right now, but I like to stay on top of it just to see where things are going. I have family members. Like I was just talking to my dad the other day. He just bought his house in early 2020, and already they have a neighbor who bought for like 300 and sold for like 600 or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So just keep an eye on those trends.
That's right.
If you're
make your decision based on today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who knows what tomorrow's going to hold.
I know that's right. So Mike, to segue a little bit, but this does kind of have to do with what we were just speaking about. I'm sure a lot of people are at the point where they're looking for a real estate agent, as you should be if you're interested in these things like we were saying. So it's important to, you're going to have people who as a realtor, like you were saying, when you have built out your sphere, these people that you've influenced. But if somebody has no connections to a real estate agent, they're probably finding themselves in a situation where they have to interview a couple or look around, that sort of thing. So what kinds of questions is it important for people to be asking their agents?
The biggest one is, are you a full-time agent?
Yeah.
I think that's a big separator from go. Okay, because there's a lot of people that are taking on, trying to work a side job, and then they're doing this, because I was that guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Until the day I made a commitment and said, hey, I'm going full time. What a difference it's been for me. That way, you as a client, you get full attention from me. Okay. That would be the biggest separator. And then you want to make sure they know the market. Okay. We've got a lot of young agents. I can always say, hey, I've been an agent for 18 years. Okay. And we were talking about this in Joe's meeting. Sometimes a new agent is good. Okay, because a new agent, they don't have 30 people on their book.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have a new agent, and that's what I tell them on my team, you're a new agent. Hey, Express, you're on a team. You got tons of people that can help you as a new agent. But the biggest thing as a new agent, I can offer you all my time.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to focus on you, and if I don't know something, I can get the answers for you. I'm going to figure it out. So you got two sides of the deal. Hey, Mike is full-time agent, 18 years experience, knows the ins and outs. Got a new agent who's hungry, who is supported by a team, okay, that can give you that attention 24/7.
Yeah.
So it all depends on what you're looking for as a client, which is more important. But even myself, when I take on clients, I make sure I block out time to be able to take care of everybody.
I think that's the most important thing for sure.
Yeah.
That's great advice, Mike. And if I was looking for a realtor, obviously I'm in a unique position because I know quite a few of them.
Yeah.
But I think it would be important to ask those questions. I think I probably want an experienced agent, but like you said, there's no harm in working with somebody new. I've had other people give flat out advice to say, like, you do not want to work with a new agent. And I think that can be a little bit harmful. But
I mean, look at some of our new agents that started last year. I mean, Austin Hammer, prime example.
Exactly.
We kind of laughed a little bit, and I won't say it on here, but Austin's first deal, there was some funny moment there.
Yeah.
But in a year, I mean, he did $10 million in volume as a brand new agent right out of college.
Yeah.
So guess what? He did a lot of things right.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's a lot of, and I feel like Joe does a good job. The agents that he hires here at 54 Realty, one, they're going to be provided with the knowledge and the support. So if you take on a new agent that's from 54 Realty, you should be in good hands with the knowledge and support they have.
Without a doubt.
So an experienced agent, they're just going to know, like myself, hey, they're going to plan out their days and their schedule. We can fit everybody in.
Yeah.
But a newer agent, I mean, they have that knowledge and support backing them.
For sure. Well, Mike, that kind of ran through my list of questions there, man. I do want to close with something a little different than we normally do. If you remember last time, I probably asked you to give advice to new agents out there. This time around, I wanted to ask, do you have any advice for the average home buyer or seller out there? Because we don't really speak to them as much as we should.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, we talk about this a lot. What the prices have done, it's really, it's hurt the average middle income family here in Florida because they haven't really made more money to qualify for a higher loan, even though their house has gone up $200,000. But there are options, that if you're that person in that category, you need to reach out to an agent and say, hey, this is where I'm at. Because there are off-market deals that you can roll into that you can afford, even with your income. So there's something there for everybody. You have to have the knowledge on how to work each client differently. So the biggest thing is reach out to somebody and ask, hey, what can I do? Here's my situation. I have $200,000 equity. I can only afford up to this price, but if up to this price gets me what I'm in right now. And that's where a lot of people are stuck at. Well, I sell, but I'm buying the same thing that I have. So my money's just going from one to the other.
Just moving it around.
Right. But there's different things that you can do, and I think you got to sit down and you got to break down what you're trying to do from sell to buy. You may be a change of location. You may be over in Clearwater, and a 2,000 square foot house is selling for $450,000, but you can move over to New Tampa and get the same house. Maybe it's $350,000.
Yeah.
So sometimes your location can dictate what you can afford and what helps you. Or you may say, hey, this property's too big. I want to downsize and go to a villa, or whatever. Or I'm selling this property over here by the water and I want to get a larger piece of land. So everybody's situation is different. I think that you need to sit down and talk and find an experienced agent or a new agent that has the support, or any agent from 54 Realty. How about
there
that?
You go.
And be creative in what you're trying to do.
Absolutely. So it's actually quite similar to the advice that I get a lot of times when I ask people of their advice for new agents, which is, do not go it alone. You really can't do it all by yourself.
That's right. And that's the good thing about here. People laugh, I don't have an assistant, but I really do.
Right.
I mean, we have the marketing, we have the listing coordinators, and we have the transaction coordinators. There's a lot of help here. So for me, you know me, I'm very hands-on. You guys give me a hard time and you're missing this paperwork, and I tell you, don't worry about it, and a lot of that goes on in the office. But
you always get the paperwork, Mike.
I always get it done. It's just on my time. But you got to understand. Some people, I have clients. They don't, believe it or not, they don't have a laptop. They don't have access to Wi-Fi. So I have to drive 30 minutes to get something signed. Well, I'll drive there when I need this other part of the contract signed.
Yeah.
There's different things like that. But there's plenty of help here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you're listening, folks, don't go it alone. You don't know everything. Trust me. I thought I knew quite a bit, and then I started doing this, and I hear these different things. Sometimes I still hear terms that I'm not quite sure what they mean, but it's all about the process, right, man?
That's right. That's right.
Well, Mike, thanks, man.
No
I really
problem.
appreciate you being the first guest here, and first repeat guest as well, man.
That's right.
Great stuff every time.
By default.
That's right. By default. Number one, top of my list. So 2022, man, I hope it's a good year for you and your team. I'm talking like I'm not going to see you every day again for the next couple of God knows how long. But thanks again, man. I really appreciate
it.
Everybody else out there, thanks for listening. Make sure if you're watching on YouTube to subscribe. Follow us on social media at The Real Estate Playbook. Website, therealestateplaybook.com. Signing off. See you next week.